Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on the hallowed grounds of Baltimore's biggest and best high school, Mervo.
Yay, Mervo!
It's also
Whoa, Mervo!
it's always homecoming week. It's homecoming week for us. Unfortunately, for any Emerson graduates, you have to play us on Friday. Good luck. It's also City Poly Week, so as someone who shares 33rd and Alameda with them, I am a little bit deferential to City, so. But I want to recognize all of my fellow elected officials who share our commitment to the city. State Senator Mary Washington, State Delegate Maggie McIntosh, Delegate Boyce, Councilwoman Ramos, Council President for Life Mary Pat Clark, who are here with us. Council President Mosby will be joining us shortly. But I think that we all know why we're here because of this issue. You know that 35th and Hillen Road has been a problem for flooding longer than I've been alive. I remember it actually being here at Mervo, and when I was a student, we had to carefully leave school from time to time when we had big rainstorms because we had to avoid the area because of the flooding. And now, due to the impacts of climate change, we are seeing heavier rainfall. And if you don't know, we should be prepared for heavy rainfall tonight and tomorrow. Make sure that you clean your gutters. Prepare yourself. Do not. We're going to be probably going out and closing roads, some roads ahead of time, because we do not want folks driving through standing water. Avoid the places that you know consistently have issues, right? If you're going to be driving on 83, slow down. Right? If you're going to be driving around North Point and those places, make sure that you're paying attention to the water level. Tomorrow evening, we are going to be hit by another massive storm, and we cannot afford to turn a blind eye to these issues. We have to work together equitably improve climate resistance in this neighborhood and throughout Baltimore so that our residents, especially our elders, can safely continue to occupy their homes. This work is that we are ready to tackle here in this neighborhood, and now thanks to $5 million in state funding that was secured by Chairwoman McIntosh, we'll be able to do just that. The work that is many, many decades overdue, but there's no time to get started like right now. And with that, I will turn it over to Chairwoman McIntosh to talk more about the partnership between the city and the state on this issue. Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Gosh, it's a great day. It's hard to believe it's going to be raining, isn't it? I want to first say that I heard for years and years and years before I even became an elected office about this issue of flooding along this street, and I heard it from Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark, who was always on the scene and always trying to help the residents, and even helping residents who no longer could get insurance for their home because of the flooding that was happening here, and we're losing property. But I actually want to say that I think it's important to give credit where credit's due. And the credit due is really to the team in the 43rd District. The Senator Washington, Delegate Boyce, Delegate Anderson, and I meet annually. We talk about bond bills, those capital bills to do capital work in the district. We talk about areas that we wish we had enough money to come in and fix. And last year, Delegate Boyce actually said, I wish we had enough capital money to put in a bond bill to fix this flooding in this area. Well, bond bills come in around $250,000 or $100,000. And I sadly said to Delegate Boyce, it's not a bond bill. We got to figure out another way. But thanks to a lot of hard work by Congress, our congressional delegation, and the President of the United States, Maryland got an influx of money to help us balance our budget to pay back where we had borrowed money, and we were able to move money around in the state budget, so we created a lot of new capital money. That's money to do infrastructure, money to build schools, money to help renovate Morgan University, and other really important projects in the city. And so it is nice to be chair of appropriations and be in the room where it happens, you know. When one day the chair of the Capital Budget Committee, Delegate Ben Barnes, looked at me and he said, "Madam Chair, we got about $8 million we don't know what to do with, and we need a little bit here and a little bit there." And I said, "I'll take 5." You know, and I said, "And I'll tell you what I'm going to take it for." And I told him the stories of what happens in this neighborhood when it rains. I called Councilwoman Ramos, who had just held a hearing in the city council about flooding in Baltimore City. And I took from that the pages of testimony from the residents who came forth in that hearing and read it to the members of the Capital Subcommittee. And I said, "Here, this is what we need money for to invest in our city. And we need to invest in this neighborhood. And we need to make sure that residents in this neighborhood are safe." So I want to thank you. We have a good team here in the 43rd District delegation. It's a great team. We work really hard for every community in our district. But I want to thank you for allowing us to work hard for you. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Chairwoman. And now we will hear from Council President Nick Mosby, who, of course, is preparing for the Poly City, as he would say, game this weekend. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, let me thank Chairwoman McIntosh. We hope that she can stay as Chairwoman of Appropriations for a long time. So all of us have to convince her for that. She does an absolutely amazing job. I had the opportunity of working with her in Annapolis, and she commands the room. She always speaks up for Baltimore City, and we absolutely love you, Maggie McIntosh. We're here today because this is the picture of what leadership looks like and what a efficient and effective working government looks like. It's when our neighbors, our residents have problems, and they don't just let those problems persist, but they get on the phone, they get on their emails, and they reach out to their elected officials. It's when Washington, D.C. understands and knows that cities and states like Baltimore and Maryland grapple with issues like this. It's having strong teams like the 43rd team right here at our State House that understand and know that they're getting those emails and they're getting those calls, and something needs to take place, Delegate Boyce. And then when we have council, when we have a mayor who affectionately loves the building behind us right here, and understands and knows that he wants to do what's right for the residents of this community. And then last but certainly not least, a fearless advocate on this issue and for this community in Councilwoman Ramos. This is when government works, and that's why we're standing here today. We need partnership to accomplish meaningful change in our city. The work that our community, our city, and state partners have come together to achieve will result in huge quality of life improvements for residents of this community. And while these individual community members will receive financial assistance for basement repairs and will add new landscaping to city streets to mitigate this problem going forward, the council is working with Chairman Conaway on a package of also other environmental justice items. It's the council's job to prepare the city to be more resilient for climate change, Mr. Mayor. And doing so will also give the opportunity to create better quality of life while building generational wealth by protecting your homes. We look forward to introducing this package. One of the bills we're researching right now is a bill that was provided through enabling legislation in Annapolis, Resilience Authority, that will create a structure that remedies and fortifies the coming climate change here in the city of Baltimore. We're meeting with other jurisdictions to learn more about the process that they've established, and we look to do so here in the city of Baltimore. Again, when we talk about partners in progress, and we go all the way from our senator to our House of Delegate reps, down to our mayor and our city councilwoman, going after tackling a problem that's been a problem for far too long. That's a very complicated issue, But with every problem, there's a solution, and that's what's standing in front of you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And next we will hear from someone that we all will say probably had the most pressure of any incoming elected official. When you're following a living legend, that comes with a lot of pressure, but she has taken that mantle of being the active, focused, energetic councilwoman for the 14th District in stride, Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark. She has taken it in stride. She's also, as Mary Pat often says to me, she's made sure that Mary Pat's not really retired, which is a great thing for all of us. But for me, Councilwoman Ramos and I were out here this summer meeting and talking with residents along with OEM, and we talked with residents about getting to this point today. And Councilwoman, we wouldn't be here today without your advocacy. So I will say thank you first and turn the mic over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. We really wouldn't be here without you and with our leadership. So I just want to, this is a really big deal. There are residents from 35th Street here with us today. And first I want to thank you all, our residents. You've been so patient, but you shouldn't have to be. And so that's why we're here, because I remember, 2 years ago, I sat on Miss Llewellyn's porch after the bus got stuck in the flood, and she showed me a picture of the flood from 1957. Same floods with the waters up at the porches, and the stop sign you can't see because there's so much water. There's 700 acres of water that comes into this area when there are those heavy rains. And my background is in housing. It is not in flood mitigation, but I'm learning a lot thanks to our partners at DPW and so many others. So residents, I want to, again, thank you so much for being here, but also for your patience. And, without you insisting that we take care of this, we wouldn't be here. So this is for all of you. I want to thank, obviously, our 43rd District delegation. This $5 million is really important. It's going to leverage more money because we're going to need a lot of money to fix this problem. I just am so thankful to work with such an amazing team, Chair McIntosh and Delegate Boyce and Senator Washington and Delegate Anderson, because they have been huge advocates to make sure that this is finally taken care of. And we'll work with other departments at the state level to make this happen. And then, of course, I want to thank Mayor Scott and the Department of Public Works and the Office of Emergency Management who've heard the calls. Mr. Mayor, I think when you were here in the summer or spring, I think you only were able to get to like 7 houses because everybody wanted to tell you their stories about how porches have been damaged and basements have been damaged and cars have been damaged unnecessarily. And so these solutions that the Department of Public Works is researching, really big stuff that we're thinking about together to be able to address this issue is only possible because the Department of Public Works is taking this on so seriously. So, and again, climate change is real. So what I also understand is that the administration, along with the council, as the council president has said, we're taking this very seriously. And so flood mitigation is just one little piece of that, but working to try to address it is a big deal. So as I said, 700 acres of water comes into this area in the heavy rains when Mother Nature decides to pour a bucket of water all at the same time here in the area. And it has lots of damage to various parts of the area as well as the houses. And so there's lots of solutions that are being researched. And so we've heard from a couple of them, but we're also looking at major infrastructure project, whether it's getting a new pipe under here to be able to carry that water, whether it's routing some of the water, and you're already seeing a project up at Lake Montebello to address this as well. So action is being taken. We're working on this diligently to do the right research, to do the right thing for residents. This isn't going to happen tomorrow, but we are working on it. We are making progress. And so I'm going to ask for your a little bit more patience as we move forward, but we are making progress thanks to the state partnership, thanks to everybody who's taking on this issue. So I'm pleased to be a part of this. I'm honored to be the council person in this area and follow the great Mary Pat Clark, who's also been working on this issue. And I thank everybody for their time today.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And now I think we will hear from the most important voice that we will hear from today, a voice that I had the opportunity to hear from on our porch over the summertime. And we had a very robust conversation about this issue, and issue that has gone on far too long. But I want everyone to really think about that, right? I talked about this issue being longer than me. When you think about that picture from 1957, that's 2 years before my dad was born. That's how long this issue has been going on, and we want to work together to make sure that it no longer happens. Ms. Llewellyn?
Hello, everyone. I appreciate the fact that you all are here. It makes me and the neighbors, because I'm speaking for all of my neighbors, because we're all involved in this. But it makes me feel good to know that finally someone took the time to talk to us, to find out how we feel, to find out what happened to our property. It makes us feel good. It makes us encouraged as far as the government. You understand? And we need that. And today we feel really good because we have been heard. You have listened. You have come around when we've had water. When the basement was flooded, when we had water up to the door, you have been here. And that's important to us because we love Baltimore. We love 35th Street. You can tell by looking at the property that surrounds this area. They're fighting hard. They took care of their property, and a lot of them are older now. We can't go out here and buy $400,000 houses, you know? So we want to maintain what we have. And finally, thank God, and your committee, and you, the mayor, your family listen. It brings tears to my eyes, but I'm not going to cry. But it brings tears to my eyes because before I leave here, something's going to be done. Even if it doesn't benefit me, it will benefit the neighborhood. And we love our neighborhood. Truly, we do. We really do. And I want to thank everyone on your committee. I may not know everybody's name, but I want to thank all of you for taking the time to concentrate on our needs. I know they have problems in the city, they have problems here, but this gives me hope that something is going to be done and we'll be able to live our lives in peace and not end up with an ulcer because we know rain is coming. You know, it's like, really, I thought I was going to have to be like Noah and build an ark because it was a lot of rain. But I appreciate it, and I know all of my neighbors appreciate it, and thank you so very, 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 very much. I really appreciate it. Okay.
And the husband would like to say one thing. I appreciate all of you. You're doing a wonderful job.
Yes, you are.
But please make this your last interview where we can have some action done on 35th Street. Really, really. We done sitting on that porch, we done had 11 interviews. I tell you, really, thank you. Please come and help.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, there's always a point in these events where someone has to follow someone that's going to be hard to follow. But it's not me, thank goodness. I think that this next person that we're going to come up, we know is a staunch advocate for the entire 43rd District, and has been a leader that really, and doesn't live too far away, not far at all. Understands the needs of this neighborhood, but also those issues. But it's been someone that has truly been about serving the people for her entirety of time in office, but even before then. Senator Mary Washington.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilwoman Ramos and everyone for bringing this together. So you're right. Often there are press conferences just to speak and have names, but we're uplifting an issue because it's not just about 35th and Hillen. Like, this is very important that we've got that $5 million. That's a drop in the bucket. We know that it's hundreds of millions of dollars to really address all of the issues that Baltimore City and many communities need to address climate change. We need climate solutions that are forward-thinking. And so what's great about this is that, yes, we're going to address the initial issue of making sure that water isn't going into your basements, but we understand that this is a basin that is actually part of a larger watershed that we need to make sure that we're protecting. And also, I'm reminded of legacy. Thank you so much for talking about being able, when we leave this planet, when we leave this space, and being comfortable that we've done all we could to ensure future generations. That is, in fact, the task for us. So yes, this is a $5 million infrastructure investment, but it really is about ensuring that there's a quality of life for the future generations, ensuring that we're taking climate change realistically. Too often in the state of Maryland and our city governments across the country are reactive to climate change rather than being forward-thinking. Someone once described this as living paycheck to paycheck rather than making initial big investments. So I know when we go back to the legislature this year, we're going to be looking at a massive climate solutions legislation that will address not only stormwater, but look at making sure that that we have enough trees that are planted, making sure that there's environmental education, making sure that there are individuals who are engaged in jobs that are about restoring the environment and repairing our world. That's our vision. That's what we look forward to. And everyone who has spoke thus far is right. It is a partnership between federal government, state government, local government, and community association presidents, like the president of the Edna Gardens Lakeside Community Association standing right here. Like all the individuals who did not give up and did not relent when it came to making sure that we have a quality of public life. So looking forward, this will be the first, we hope, of many. We want to uplift this issue, not just in this community, but across the city of Baltimore to ensure that we are living healthy, happy lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Now we will hear from a young lady who took almost the same route that I took to elected office. We actually had the same job. I left and got elected, and then she had the job that I had as a community liaison for this area. But someone who's always understood the needs to working with our communities, our great delegate, Regina Boyce.
Thank you, sir, Mayor. I appreciate that. We did start at the same place. Everyone has said things that have already needed to be said. Yes, climate change is real. And yes, to Councilwoman Ramos's point, I am not an expert in flood mitigation or inland flooding, but boy, do I know a lot now, more than I knew before, from who controls what, from definitions, from insurance, and what insurance actually pays for and what it doesn't pay for. It has been a trial and error. But one of the things that hasn't been done or said, and I want to put it out there, is sorry. 1957? We owe this community an apology. Right? And I do believe, though, that for everything there is a season, right? And maybe this is an orchestration of season when the right people are in the right place to do something about something, but it shouldn't have taken this long. So I want to first put out there that we are sorry that it has come to this. But look at what we can do because of this. Look at the partnerships that we leverage. Look at the financing that we're going to leverage. But most importantly, look at what we're going to learn based on, to Senator Washington's point, about what we do moving forward, being proactive versus reactive with climate change. So I want to thank you so much. I want to thank Ms. Jackson and Ms. Llewellyn for not giving up and continuing to fight. But sorry that it took this long. but we are on our way. And to your husband's point, we are moving to action. And we are not going to have any more press conferences unless we have an actionable item to show that we've doing this work. So thank you so much.
Thank you. We absolutely will not. I will also say that I really feel a little bit nostalgic as Councilwoman Clark's phone rang, which is something that all of us on the city council know that we have to get her to silence it. We will now hear from our bureau chief from Water Wastewater, Yosef Cabeda, who is the technical expert and can talk about these things in a way that none of us can. Mr. Bureau Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Ms. Llewellyn, I have not had a chance to meet you, but I hope to and work with you as we go forward. And thank you for your patience. Good afternoon. My name is Yosef Cabeda. I'm the Bureau Head for the Bureau of Water and Wastewater, Department of Public Works. Thank you, Mayor Scott, for your leadership on this issue of flooding, resilience, and climate action, and the entire 43rd District delegation for your leadership and advocacy for Baltimore. And of course, thank you, Council President Mosby and Councilwoman Ramos for being great champions for this specific issue among others. And thank you all other agency partners for your partnership. As an agency, DPW is at the forefront of efforts to make our infrastructure resilient to intense and frequent storms that can contribute to flooding. Because DPW's assets are typically buried, many times they are highlighted only when they fail. This leads to a reactive mode of operation and maintenance that limits strategic asset management, which is a really critical feature for a utility like DPW to have. In 2014, DPW instituted a stormwater fund that has since been the vehicle to maintain and improve our stormwater infrastructure and thereby more effectively address flooding issues. An example of this exciting project we have embarked on very recently is to establish for the very first time a hydrologic and hydraulic model of the stormwater system, the entire stormwater system. This model will simulate response of our buried stormwater infrastructure to a variety of rain events and allow us to predict flood conditions and prioritize key interventions. So that is something that we are very excited about and feel that it will have a significant impact on our interventions. Although our stormwater fund is a critical tool in our efforts to address flooding, it is the smallest and also the most recent of the three utility funds. As you know, we have the water, the sewer, and the storm. So therefore, there is a need to be creative and seek out partnerships, which is really wonderful because, as somebody already mentioned, this situation, as unpleasant as it is, has galvanized the joining of various stakeholders to come to the table. So we are very fortunate to have these strong relationships with the Office of Emergency Management, Office of Sustainability, Department of Transportation, the Maryland Department of Emergency Management, Maryland Insurance Agency, Department of Housing and Community Development, and of course the Maryland Department of the Environment. And I would also like to mention that we do have a strong partnership with Morgan State right down the road and Johns Hopkins, with whom we are in discussions to collaborate on projects that are focused on utilizing green infrastructure in the city to alleviate heat as well as flooding impacts, particularly in under-resourced communities in our beloved city. These partnerships will be crucial as we undertake tough challenges like the flooding challenge right here on 35th and Hillen. The $5 million grant from the state awarded to the city for this flood mitigation project is an example of a mission-focused partnership. We are excited about the potential of the portfolio of projects that will be implemented to address this situation once and for all, but also cognizant that this is not a panacea. It is complex, as somebody already mentioned. So there are many different interventions that have to be implemented to make sure that we arrive at the solution that we all want and need. So with that, I'm just going to give over the podium to our DPW Project Manager, who will be overseeing the projects on 35th and Hillen, Mr. Sherrod Hicks.
Good afternoon. My name is Sherrod Hicks, and I am the project engineer for this contract. It has actually been named Storm Drain Contract 7802, 35th and Hillen Storm Drain Mitigation. DPW will be conducting a hydraulic and hydrology model for the street-level stormwater collection and a preliminary analysis of the main stem of the historic Tiffany Run, which runs parallel to 35th Street. The results of the H&H model will aid in identifying the effectiveness of adding inlets and/or modifications to all of our underground utilities in the vicinity, the 700 drainage areas that Councilwoman Ramos mentioned earlier. We will be conducting field visits to verify all inlet locations, size, inlet type, structure depth, connectivity, and invert elevations, which will be happening any day now. They're in the process of being scheduled. Residents stated that manholes would surcharge before significant flooding would occur. We will also be surveying key manholes inside and outside the priority area of 35th and Hillen. There are an estimated 1,000 to 1,300 inlets in this drainage area. A storm drain network will be developed, and hydraulic and 2D surface modeling will be calibrated based on large storm events which occurred in 2020 and 2021. We will use the flooding records as well as site pictures provided by citizens that will serve as a reference. The capacity of the storm drain system will be evaluated using city-recommended design storms and will be run for 2-year rain events, 10-year rain events, 100 rain events, and we will also evaluate drainage systems based on inflated climate change. Sensitivity analysis will be performed by increasing storm drains to account for that said climate change. There are currently up to 10 alternatives and model configurations that will be derived to address the flooding and capacity constraint issues. Alternatives will include, but not be limited to, upsizing pipes, flow diversion, online and offline storage tanks, retrofitting and replacement of storm drain inlets. The boundaries of the area will be from East Coast Spring Lane to York Road to 33rd Street on through Hillen. We've had a meeting with the residents to determine what their needs are, and I've had a chance to talk to Mr. Williams. I'm actually a resident of the 14th District. I live at the intersection of 35th and Hillen, and over the last 4 or 5 years, I've made it a point to come down to this area whenever it's been raining. So I know the impact and the trauma that it has not only on the residents, but speaking to Mr. Williams, you can't even enjoy a night out when you think it's going to rain in your home, and that's a solution that we want to fix. I will be technically the face of this project for DPW, so if anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free to let me know. That goes as well with the residents as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherrod. Thank you so much. And lastly, we will hear, but not least for sure, Emergency Preparedness Division Chief of Emergency Management, Shelly Smith. Shelly?
Good afternoon, everyone. Shelly Smith, Preparedness Section Chief, OEM. Just wanted to come out today and reiterate all the sentiments that have been said today, the thank you for the partnerships and everyone working together. So OEM started working on this project. We did an outreach event last spring that everyone has been talking about, where we were able to knock on the doors and survey the residents and ask them what has happened in their homes, what has the personal experience has been like, how have many of them have lost cars, many of them had to redo their basements. So we were able to use that information to get concrete data to support this entire initiative. And it was a wonderful day. We were able to see this community and just see their needs so we can all come together to support them. One of my favorite sayings is the sum is greater than the whole of its parts. And I think that that's something that is really demonstrated here, because individually it is harder to come and address and overcome such a situation, an issue that this neighborhood has been facing for far too long. But when we all come together, we can achieve this goal and we can address the needs for these citizens. It is something they definitely deserve, and we are all happy to provide support. So thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we'll take a few questions. All right. Thank you very much. You missed it, man. You missed it. No, you're good. Go ahead.
Timeline, how fast can residents expect to see an impact with flood mitigation?
I'm going to let the face of the project walk you through that. Sherrod?
So over the next 4 months, we will be collecting data through the H&H study. That process will take between 4 to 6 months. It's already been contracted out. It's going to take about 3 weeks to field verify all of the inlets. As I stated earlier, there are approximately 1,000 to 1,200 that has to be field verified in person. So we want to make sure the data that we have on our computer and our analysis that matches what we have in the field. After that, then we will incorporate a design phase. The design phase will have different stages. There will be a 30%, which will need to be reviewed, a 60%, a 90%, and then the final design project. So all of that has to go through compliance, through MDE, as well as our local representatives and compliance office. So it will be a process. But as I stated to the residents earlier, we plan on being in constant communication from the beginning all the way to the end of the process, so they know exactly where we stand.
Thank you, everybody.